Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for the opportunity to be here today. I'd just like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land we meet, and after that, welcome to country. That's just not a tokenistic notion. You can see that the very essence of that understanding of the land is integral to what we're about. I'd like to acknowledge Margaret Smith, the patron and such a passionate supporter of this organisation, Mayor David Smith from Bunbury and other elected members, and all of you who share this commitment about the coast. Look, I'd just like to share a little bit about what's been happening in Mandurah, but as you'd be aware, as an elected member, I'm not at the operational end, so I want to talk a little bit about some of the overarching things and then some of the practical things, and I acknowledge the work of our staff and in what I'm going to tell you. You'd be aware that we've got a 50-kilometre long coastline, and the northern part comes from Mandurah Bay, then we get down to the entrance of Mandurah, then the Hall's Head Island part down to the Dawesville Channel. Then south of Dawesville there's two settlements really, I suppose, in the old Florida and Melrose. And then as you come further down to Tim's Thicket Road, there's an area where four-wheel drives are allowed as we link up with the Waroona border. I'll just start with some of the, I suppose, thinking of council around this. And look, I think it's fair to say that if it wasn't for the passionate work of some of our community members and community groups, some of these issues would find it hard to get to the top of the pile, I suppose, in terms of what a fast-growing local government like ours is trying to deal with. And so the first thing that strikes me about when we're looking to protect the coast and manage the issue of off-road vehicles is to look for those people in the community who have that love and understanding and work with them. And we've been fortunate in Mandurah that, again through the staff, we've developed a number of friends of groups, and and also a series of coast care groups. And I'm very aware that every local government will have different responses and be trying different things. And of course, the value of this group is being able to share that. So I don't present this information that this is the unknowing, this is the knowing telling the unknowing. This is really about just sharing what we do, but with a big proviso that we have a long way to go on it. And I would suggest that we're just trying to do some things to keep up, but I wouldn't want you to come away with a feeling that, you know, we've got all this nailed. We haven't. But the first thing I believe is, first of all, you need the commitment from the local government that these areas are important and that deserve their place in the budgetary process. How well do we go with that? It's variable. I'd certainly like to see more, but we have, as you all have, limited resources, and I guess we're trying to do the best we can with that. But it is important that these areas that are often a bit out of the busyness of sort of the more urban areas, that they don't get forgotten, and that's where the value of working with the community champions comes in. The second thing is trying to work with as many other agencies as possible, because we're never going to do this on our own. And as you know, we're waiting for that strategy that may never come to us, the trail bike strategy, and hopefully that will emerge from somebody's office and we will get some greater legislative framework that will help in dealing with some of these things. The Rangers have been very proactive. They have worked, as you know, with a number of volunteers, particularly on the coastline around the Tim's Thicket and the White Hills area south. And I'm going to concentrate most of my remarks around that area. We do get spasmodic off-road vehicles, trail bikes on beaches in other areas, but because of the population numbers, I think it's fair to say that they are, while they are a nuisance and while we don't want them there, they are not really where the focus of attention is in terms of the huge numbers. The greatest concentration is in the area around Tim's Thicket, White Hills and further south. And there's a good reason for that. Like here, they're absolutely beautiful areas, and for people who want to get that off-road experience, you know, it's quite special because you're not that far from an urban area. It's fairly accessible, and it's a bit isolated. And also, once you get there, the beaches are truly beautiful, and they are wonderful spots to be in. One of the biggest problems for us is that, of course, the destruction to the dune system. Dunal systems through there are very fragile, and I guess it's fair to say that going back 15 years ago when I first became aware of it, there wasn't a lot of work being done in that area. It was really a forgotten area. We also had some bordering areas which was then calm, so there were, you know, a bit of no man's land type areas. So this has been a process over 15 years that I've been aware of, where we've been trying to get some better systems in place, trying to get some better protection. So one of the first things that happened was through our coast care groups was a lot of manual brushing, because obviously the biggest concern to us was the vehicles not staying on designated tracks and then really ripping up the vegetation with terrible erosion. Now, that was causing severe problems. So we had this massive human effort of collecting green waste. The Coast Care Group had special trailers made, and they collected green waste and they brushed. Fantastic effort. But of course, you know, people in four-wheel drives feel indestructible, but they feel that they can destruct things that come in their path. So they, you know, that was like just putting sort of a matchstick under you know, to them, they'd go through it. So I think one of the things that's helped principally in trying to at least keep people on more defined tracks has been the fact that the council then took up understanding that it had to play a greater role in terms of the bulk handling of green waste material, so that you got a lot of brushing that then did protect the dunes. So it in no way diminishes the effort of the volunteers, but the council really had to pick up its game and start that, and we're very fortunate that we've got some fantastic staff in that area, and they really saw the need. And again, working with the locals, I can't emphasise strongly enough the part that those local champions, the Coast Care Group and others, have played in, first of all, keeping it before council's attention so it doesn't get forgotten, and secondly, highlighting where the problems are and what strategies might work, because they are around that area, they know it better than we do, and it's been very important for us to listen to them. The other thing that has exacerbated the problem of off-road vehicles, and I include in that four-wheel drives, quad bikes and trail bikes, is that now as an area that is becoming more densely populated, of course, you know, in the early days when people would come and go to these places, they might have been doing damage, but no one really knew, and sometimes people didn't really care because they weren't bothering them. But now you get the drone of a trail bike engine, you know, impacting on houses, noise and dust, then you get a much stronger reaction from residents. And as you know, the problem with that is that sometimes residents feel so disempowered and so powerless to do anything about trail bikes where they shouldn't be, that there have been some pretty you know, serious situations where people have taken the law into their own hands. And of course, that is a situation we can't really allow to happen, and certainly we don't want to get into that. One of the other areas that the rangers tell me, or the other issues that have helped, is using these memorandum of understanding with private landowners, because it's a tricky thing about, first of all, catching people, which is, you know, is quite difficult. The second thing is finding where their vehicles are, and the third thing is getting a successful prosecution.